Hey everyone, me Kevin here with an update on the next rounds of stimulus, the next stimulus check, and stimulus-related news for July 30th. I'm going to walk you through all of the updates on the negotiation flowchart as well. Quick updates for now. On the $600 per week boost, we know that many Republicans are open to increasing the existing $200 proposal with 70% wage replacement starting in October. We have a proposal from Mitt Romney that suggests increasing this to $500 per week for August and then going to 80% wage replacement. And many other Republicans are in support of increasing the limit. Even Mitch McConnell has suggested that this $200 number is a starting point. Well, new data is out. According to JP Morgan Chase, Freddie Mac, one of our favorite mortgage giants, made of course popular during the Great Recession, stated that without the extra $600 boost, delinquencies on mortgages would have been 40 to 70% higher than current levels. On stimulus checks, Donald Trump mentioned yesterday that when asked if $1,200 payments were high enough, Trump responded with the quote, "We're going to see. It may have to go higher than that, actually. I'd like to see it be very high because I love the people. I want the people to get it. You know, the economy is going to come back. We saved millions of lives, but we're now bringing the economy back. We gotta take care of the people in the meantime." This reiterates arguments by Donald Trump weeks ago at the White House that the next stimulus package would be very generous and that he wants payments to go even higher than what Democrats want to see. Trump has also now suggested delaying the November election until a, quote, safer time. This wouldn't necessarily delay a change in power in January or an end to his first term, but it could delay voting, which would potentially be more favorable for Donald Trump in his opinion. It seems that he believes the closer we get to a vaccine and the more of a reopened economy we have, the more likely it is that he will get reelected. However, only Congress can do that. So we'd probably have to wait a couple years to get the November election delayed a couple months. Which, by the way, Harvard doesn't see us getting a vaccine until at least early 2021, because it'll be at least until then for trials to prove effective. Senator Ted Cruz spoke on Hannity and said, quote, "We can't just keep shoveling cash at this. We're going broke. We're bankrupting our country, and the answer can't be trillions and trillions more money. We don't need another relief bill, we need a recovery bill." He suggests that a recovery bill would include lower taxes and remove job-killing regulations. He says if we get into a spending war with the Democrats, who can be the bigger Santa Claus, we'll always get outbid, says Ted Cruz about Republicans. Ted Cruz went on to say that if the economy is stronger in November and we're open, we can win the White House, keep the Senate, and take control of the House. Again, referring to Republicans when he says we. If people are demoralized and hopeless in November, Democrats will sweep and the country will have a President Biden. Ted Cruz believes we need to focus on reopening. Meanwhile, part 1 of the pre-sale for the YouTube course does end tomorrow, so use that coupon code and join so you too could make money from home. Furthermore, the Federal Reserve substantially ramped up its now typical and somewhat indirect pressure on Congress to provide more stimulus. In their press conference yesterday, Chairman Jerome Powell repeatedly suggested that the Fed will do whatever it takes and that this economic recovery will have a long tail. And the Fed isn't even thinking about removing support or raising rates right now. Speaking of the Federal Reserve, today is a sad day. Previous chair of the Kansas City Federal Reserve passed away of COVID-19 today. Herman Cain was admitted to an Atlanta hospital on July 1st. He tested positive for COVID-19 just 14 days after attending the Trump Tulsa, Oklahoma rally without wearing a mask. Thoughts and prayers to his families. But honestly, look at that lag time. That rally was held 6 weeks ago, and Chair Cain passed away today. That's a very long lag time, and it's also very sad because it means he was fighting COVID for 30 days. Mr. Cain was 74. Now let's hit the flowchart. While I pull up the flowchart, I have to say, why do I feel like I'm in V for Vendetta and some masked man is going to come on TV and say, the truth is, there is something terribly wrong with this country, isn't there? Cruelty and injustice, intolerance and oppression. Well, at least you can get life insurance and 2 free stocks with Webull when you sign up using the link down below. Deposit $100, get 2 free stocks worth up to $1,400, and of course get life insurance in as little as 5 minutes. See those links down below, right below the link for the YouTube course. Okay, let's look at our flow chart. So I've changed this as usual. I'm gonna keep updating this. Anything in yellow is something that I've changed. So I'm only going to look at things that are yellow. Obviously up top, we've got Democrats, things that are Democrat priorities. Something I added for Democrats is that Democrats do want higher stimulus checks as well, right? So when we hear that Trump says we want higher stimulus checks, so do Democrats, because the HEROES Act wants $1,200 and $1,200. That's $1,200 for filers and $1,200 for dependents. The current HEALS Act would give $1,200 for filers, and then if filers qualify, then their dependents would get $500. Democrats also want absentee voting, which keep in mind that there is a lot of distrust for the mail, that is mailing in your votes. What a lot of people actually do with absentee ballots is they'll receive their ballot by mail, and then they'll take that ballot and physically drop it off at the election office. I find that a lot of people out here in California do it. I know that there are a lot of people who mistrust actually putting their signed ballot in the mail. I ran an Instagram poll, and about 50% of you disagreed with actually putting your ballot in the mail. Regarding these stimulus checks and child support, I read all of your comments. I really appreciate them. Really appreciate y'all subscribing and sharing the video, by the way, as well. It's so cool. But here's the thing. There are a lot of comments about child support garnishments not happening. Here's the scoop. The HEROES Act says you get your stimulus check even if you owe child support. That's the HEROES Act. However, the HEALS Act, which is the current proposal by Republicans, says that if you owe child support, you do not get the money. If you owe state or bank debt, you're still eligible to receive your check. This is the HEALS Act in green, and in yellow here, that's the HEROES Act. Okay, let's keep moving on to see what other updates we have on our flow chart today. Here we go. We'll get over here to Donald Trump's section, which is below sort of this whole section we have on information that we already know is coming in through from the actual HEALS Act. So if you want to pause, you can always read any parts of this. Always a very good idea to remember to get your mortgage forbearance, and keep in mind that a lot of banks are trying to rip off you. I get Instagram DMs flooded every day about people saying, the bank isn't offering me 6 months. The bank is wanting to review my financials. The bank isn't letting me defer the loan to the end, yet I have a Fannie or Freddie loan. This is a scam. It's a ripoff. Educate yourself. Watch this video. Go to metkevin.com/forbearance. And in the links to that video, I give you all of the details that you need to arm yourself with the correct knowledge. On the stopgap bill, I added that Donald Trump does prefer voting when it's safe. We talked about that, and prefers the higher stimulus checks. I did still have some comments about the post office, and yes, the Treasury Department did approve a $10 billion loan for the post office, even though it's not likely that we're going to see the post office in any bill that gets passed here in the short term. In COVID news, we are now seeing a leveling off in COVID cases, partially thanks to new controls, new restrictions, and also a now more consistent message that wearing masks is good. In an op-ed in the Post today, a Princeton researcher wrote, "Over the past 6 weeks, I've eaten out at restaurants 5 times, attended 2 concerts, visited a large, busy indoor mall 3 times, had 2 haircuts, and repeatedly watched school kids run around the schoolyard. But that's all been responsible behavior because instead of being in lockdown in my house in the DC area, I've been in France, where life and the economy are now carrying on close to normal." Despite France having had a worse outbreak than the United States, their president had a severe national lockdown and put an extensive testing and tracing program in place. 2 months later, they're almost back to normal. By the way, France was on such a rigid lockdown that you actually had to fill out a form just to leave your house, but now they're mostly back to normal. In economic news, gross domestic product shrank 9.5% year over year in Q2. That is the largest decline since we started publishing GDP data 70 years ago. Just a heads up, if you see some people saying that GDP fell 33%, that's okay as well. Basically what's happening is from Q2 to Q2, we fell 9.5%. But if you take this 9.5% that we just felt in Q2 and then multiply it by 4 to kind of extrapolate it over the year and then do a little bit of a seasonal adjustment, you end up with that 33%. So that's kind of like a messed up annualized rate. but it's really a 9.5% year-over-year decline, which is still twice the loss we had during the Great Recession. Meanwhile, Germany's economy, who now largely also has the virus under control, also fell by 10.15%. However, Germany is showing a stronger V-shaped recovery with massive state support for workers and businesses, with the state oftentimes just covering people's payroll so they could stay home and be safe, and then pay their bills, and when they go out, mask up. Because Germany took the virus so seriously, and especially how seriously they supported the people, Germany should now be benefiting next year more than it was in the pre-pandemic era. That is, Germany's economy might be larger than it was pre-pandemic, at least according to Chase, whereas the United States is expected to be smaller by the end of next year. Seasonally adjusted jobless claims were up about 12,000 to 1.43 million this week. That means we did have about 1.43 million jobless claims just in the last week. That's the second straight week of an increase in jobless claims. Now, if we take out the seasonal adjustment, jobs actually did a little bit better than expected, but honestly, even a little bit better than expected, taking out the seasonal adjustment, is not what we should be seeing in a true V-shaped recovery. Honestly, I'm kind of sick of Vs, and I really just think this is all just referring to V for Vendetta. Restaurant spending increased in June, but has remained flat since then, and 51.1% of households experienced a loss of employment income. That is, somebody in the household lost a job or had income reduced through hours cut during the week ending July 21st. That is up from a week ago. Anyway, there you have the update for today. Check out the pre-sale on that YouTube course. Remember, the pricing does change tomorrow evening, so thank you so much for considering joining. Thank you so much for considering subscribing. Get your 2 free stocks, get your life insurance. I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time.